Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Craig. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters. I'd like to welcome all of you to our town hall about the Michigan Citizens Redistricting Commission. This town hall is being held with our partners, the members of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Tau Alpha Omega. We welcome you to this event. We will have a speaker who will be discussing the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. And afterward, we will have allow questions for the speaker. Again, we welcome you. This is being recorded. We welcome you to our event. And at this time, I would like to introduce someone from the League of Women Voters, Stephanie Simon, who is on the board, to tell you something about the League. Stephanie.
Thanks, Rhonda. And thank you to the AKAs for partnering with us on this programming and to all of you for joining us tonight. As Rhonda said, my name is Stephanie Simon, and I'm a board member with the League of Women Voters Detroit chapter. The League of Women Voters is a more than 100-year-old organization that works to ensure that each and every vote is counted and that the voting systems are fair, free, and accessible to all. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization with national, state, and local counterparts throughout the country. For over a century, we've worked to empower voters by informing citizens through advocacy and educational programming concerning public policy and candidates for elected office, especially at the local level where these important topics are often overlooked. We encourage active and informed participation in the political process. The League does not endorse or support candidates for political parties. We conduct candidate forums, register voters, hold informational meetings, and advocate for voter rights. Our goal is to have an engaged public and elected officials that represent our entire community, not just a few. If you're here tonight, there's a good chance that you too care about these issues, and we invite you to join us. When our organization was formed in 1920, our world probably looked very different. They certainly wouldn't have been gathering to discuss a topic via Zoom like we are tonight, but so many issues that we as a country and as a community are encountering are unfortunately still the same, and we can only tackle them when we join together. So we invite you to join us as we make democracy work in our communities. The League of Women Voters of Detroit is currently accepting new members, so great news for all of you. We work to engage not just Detroit, but also Hamtramck and Highland Park citizens in local governance, decision-making, and other issues of interest like the one we'll be discussing tonight. Our membership is open to anyone and everyone. We seek to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion in all of our endeavors. I will be popping the website in the chat. It's lwvdetroit.org. So please consider joining and becoming a force for change in your community and your country. As we like to say, democracy is not a spectator sport, and we hope that you will be joining us in this endeavor. So Rhonda, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I too echo your sentiments regarding how happy we are to partnership with the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. And at this time, I will introduce the Vice President of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Ms. Jamila Taylor.
Greetings. My name is Jamila Taylor, and I serve as the Vice President of the Tau Alpha Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. I bring you greetings on behalf of our president, Paulina Johnson, and the over 100 members of our chapter. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority is committed to service, scholarship, sisterhood, and social action. So in addition to our current international program targets like HBCUs and health, economic, the arts, and making a global impact, we are locked in with the League of Women Voters. We're allies, and we're supporting the work that they do, providing nonpartisan, factual voting information and rights and civil engagement. So I'm just elated tonight to be enlightened about the Redistricting Commission. I look forward to again collaborating, and prayerfully next time it's in person. Just want to wish everyone a phenomenal evening, and thank you for again inviting us to collaborate.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any announcements, upcoming announcement, Ms. Taylor?
I don't have any personal announcements, but if our Connections Committee Chairman, Dolores Brown does, I will defer those to her.
Okay, all right. All right, at this time, we have some announcements from the league. At this time, I'll introduce Cheryl Bukoff, who is on our board of directors and our head of membership, who is the membership coordinator, to discuss some upcoming events we have in partnership with the Detroit Public Library. Cheryl?
Thank you. We do have two coming up, one in next week on the 13th. They're all welcome to come, and I'll put in the chat, you can contact us if you want the link to it. It's about misinformation, combating disinformation, actually. And PEN America, one of their specialists in disinformation, will be speaking. They're a national organization, and they'll be telling us a lot more about how we can identify information that is not correct or accurate. That's on the 13th of April at 6 o'clock. That's Tuesday. And then the next one coming up after that is on the 11th of May. And that one is going to be about political cartoonists. And we're having Mike Thompson, who's the political cartoonist for the Free Press, and Henry Payne, who is the political cartoonist for the Detroit News. Those two panelists to talk about how political cartoons get used, how they got into this, how it's useful to really structure and strengthen democracy. So that's on a Tuesday, also May 11th at 6 o'clock. And I will leave that information in the link. So you're all welcome to attend. And
Okay.
actually, you can go through the link Stephanie puts in there too. Will take you to our information on our website.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cheryl.
Sure.
Now I have some polls I want to submit to you guys. And I'll be launching it now so we can find out a little bit more about how we can progress in future events. I'm putting the poll now, putting it out now. Can everyone see it? There are 3 questions in the poll. And I will have the poll up for another few seconds. And to finish voting, I think you have to put out submit or something at the end before your vote is counted. Okay, I will end the polling now. And I will share the results. So we have quite a few sorority members, people who learned from the website or our website and Facebook. And people, about roughly half the people, some people know about the Redistricting Commission, some do, and most of you would like to participate in other events. Okay, thank you so much for participating in the poll. So at this time, I would like to introduce our speaker. His name is Charles Thomas Jr. He's a pastor or minister for the People of Purpose Ministries. He's a long-standing distinguished member of the League of Women Voters Detroit. He has made numerous presentations on our behalf. He's a member of several voting rights groups, very active in voters' rights groups. He's even created informational videos regarding voting and voting rights. And he's a founding member of our Speakers Bureau. I am very proud and pleased to introduce to you Charles Thomas Jr.
Thank you, Madam President. And let me start off by saying that the place from which I occupy the most prominent position of power says to me that we are to give honor to whom honor is due. And so let me first start off by giving honor to our president, Rhonda Craig. She is dynamic in all that she does, and she is of the best of leaders. There's a danger in getting close to President Craig, and that is that it's almost impossible to tell her no. She has powers of persuasion that make it so that it's almost impossible to tell her no. And so she asked me to be the presenter for this very important topic. And I said yes. I couldn't say no. And I felt ill-equipped to bring the information. And so I was running all over the place trying to collect information. And then we did a run through a couple of days ago, and President Craig said, Charles, it's scripted. There are notes. And so I say to you, if you see me looking down, the reason why is because there's a script that we go by that makes it so that everybody gets the same information, which is very important. And so you'll see me looking to the side because I have to follow the script, and I will deviate from the script, not very much, I'll put it like that. But thank you, President Craig. Again, the subject matter for today is redistricting. And I'll be honest, I'll be the first one to say that I felt like personally, I was a little behind when it came to this subject. And the reason why is because there was such a great focus on voter registration and getting out the vote and the Prop 3 information that Prop 2 kind of took a place on the back burner. And now it's in front of us, and we find the importance of this particular subject when it comes to redistricting. And so this is what we'll be talking about tonight. And let me just start off by saying, really the subject is gerrymandering. That's where it all starts. And I'll read you the definition of gerrymandering. And forgive me if so much of this is rudimentary, elementary information that you all already know. You might know more than I do, but I'll say it out loud so that I can hear it. First, gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is to manipulate the boundaries of an electoral constituency so as to favor one party or class. I'll read that again. It is to manipulate the boundaries of an electoral constituency so as to favor one party or class. And so when we look at gerrymandering, what we see is what has been created, the political environment that we exist in, one that is polarized, one that is extreme, because there is no fear of losing an election if you're in a gerrymandered district. And so, well, let's just get into the subject. I'm gonna have to share my screen if I'm able to do that.
Yes, you should be.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Not quite yet, Charles. Okay, we got you.
Okay, and I'm gonna have to move your picture so that I can see the actual layout. Okay, redistricting. Redistricting in Michigan, the MICRC, Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and communities of interest will be the subjects that we will be focusing on for the most part for this evening. And so let's start with, if this will allow me to forward the slides, which at this point it is not.
Try your space bar. Nope.
No, that's not working either. Let's try it now. Okay, all right, redistricting in Michigan. Again, we have what is known as the Citizens Independent Redistricting Commission. And the general idea is that in redistricting is to make it so that voters select or elect their politicians and not the other way around, where politicians are allowed to select their voters. And so I'm here presenting the League of Women Voters of Michigan, or for the League of the Voters of Michigan. We are a nonpartisan organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League does not support or oppose parties or candidates. You might be familiar with our efforts to educate voters through our nonpartisan voters guides and candidate forums. We do not, I apologize, we do take positions on issues after studying them. We were formed in 1920 as an outgrowth of the suffragist movement. We are in 50 states, and here in Michigan, we have 27 local leagues. Membership is to anyone 16 and older, and my diversity statement is that yes, League of Women Voters does accept men too. The League also works to increase understanding of major public policy issues through education. That's why I'm here today. This presentation covers 3 related topics: redistricting and how gerrymandering affects it, what Michigan did to get rid of gerrymandering, and third, the new system for drawing election district lines. And I'm going to ask, if you would, to please hold all questions to the end. Okay, well, what is redistricting? Following every census, the distribution of congressional seats across the nation is subject to change based on population movement. And so the lines for Michigan's U.S. Congressional, State Senate, and State House districts are reviewed and redrawn every 10 years following the national census. After population shifts are identified and published, redistricting is the process of drawing the lines for congressional and legislative districts. How the district lines are drawn determines which voters reside in each congressional and legislative district. In Michigan, we currently have 14 U.S. congressional districts, and that, from information that's being put out there, is subject to go down to 13. But we currently have 14 congressional districts, having lost one following the last census. We also have 38 Michigan Senate districts and 110 Michigan House districts. So again, let me say, for myself, I was a little behind and now playing catch up, and the census being only once every 10 years has locked us in to what our numbers will be basically for the next 10 years. So states are tasked with drawing lines for U.S. congressional and state house and Senate districts, and every state determines its own process. Okay, so how are map lines drawn? First, there is a criteria that must be met. First, federal law requires redistricting every 10 years and an equal number of persons in each district. Second, no rules about how to draw lines, except Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act blocks district lines that deny minority voters an equal opportunity to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice. And so the U.S. Constitution requires that seats for the U.S. House of Representatives be apportioned to states according to the population count in the federal census conducted every 10 years. That is how it is determined how many congressional seats each state has It is by the census count. In 1964, in a 1964 case of Reynolds versus Sims, the United States Supreme Court determined that the general basis of apportionment should be one person, one vote. This rule means that generally electoral districts may be equal in, or must be equal in population according to the most recent census, so that each person's vote is equally weighted. That is based on the 14th Amendment, where it says that everyone should have equal protection under the law, and it was determined that under that umbrella it was the one person, one vote conversation. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act blocks district lines that deny minorities an equal opportunity to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice. Federal law requires redistricting every 10 years and that an equal number of persons live in each district. You probably remember the one person, one vote requirement established by the US Supreme Court, which we just spoke of. Okay, and so let me also say, while the law states how many people must live in each district, it doesn't specify how the lines are to be drawn or where, except that minority rights must be protected. The Voting Rights Act requirement that minority voters have an equal opportunity to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice sometimes results in districts where a recognized minority makes up the majority of the population, such as in Michigan's 14th Congressional District. And so what happens? What's the problem? Politicians manipulate elections to keep themselves in power. Politicians manipulate elections to keep themselves and their party in power. And how do they do that? By the way that the maps are drawn, by the way that the districts are mapped out. And so what we're looking at here is a slide that is gerrymandering simplified. And in this slide, each color and line represents an election district. The first box is without districts. There are no lines that are drawn. And then there are three other boxes with three ways to draw the lines. The district is 40% purple and 60% green are these districts, is what it should say. The map on the left has no lines. The second from the left shows districts that are compact, lines drawn vertically, and outcome matches party distribution. You can see that there are two purple districts, which is representative of the number of purple citizens. And there are three green districts, which are representative, or true representation of the number of citizens that are green. And so the next one over has districts that are compact as well, but unfair because the outcome is that green wins every single one, just because the lines are horizontal rather than vertical. The last one on the right shows districts that are neither compact nor fair. Note the hard turns in the line. And so when we talk about, again, gerrymandering, it is where people draw the lines to suit special interests. And the terms that are used are cracking and packing. Cracking a district or a block of citizens, geographical area, or packing citizens into a geographical area in order to bring about a party controlling with lesser representation in, as far as citizens are concerned, in districts. And so this was an explanation of gerrymandering in the Washington Post. It is not representing any political party. As you can see, how the lines are drawn determines the outcome. In the first example, green wins all four. In the second example, purple wins one and green the other three. And so when it comes to Michigan congressional districts, there are 435 members of Congress. This would be the US Congress. The number are reallocated among the states after every decennial census. Because of a quickly growing population, Michigan's number climbed from 12 in 1900 to 19 in 1960 and 1970. Since then, Michigan has lost congressional districts after each decennial census as a result of population growth that lagged other states. Michigan still ranks 8th in the number of seats in the US House. Each congressional district has about 710,000 people. Therein lies the importance of true representation in the census, because each district is about 710,000 people. Each district elects a representative to the House for a two-year term. There are no term limits. This is the current 14th district, and you all excuse me because I just had my second vaccine yesterday and I'm trying to get myself together. But this is Michigan's current 14th district. This is a good example of gerrymandering in Michigan, one of the worst in the country. This is Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence's seat. It has 79% Democratic base, and over 80% of the population is African American. And you see that they had to go through a lot of changes in order to draw this map to pack a certain constituency in order to afford for other constituencies to win in other places. I'll just put it like that because I have to stay in my lane. We also have the Michigan Senate. The map highlights 2012 Michigan Senate districts based on the 2000 census. The Senate has 38 members in districts that have 212,400 to 263,500 residents. Senators are elected at the same time as the governor and serve 4-year terms concurrent with the governor's term of office. Term is limited to 2 4-year terms. When it comes to the state house, this map highlights where districts are in Michigan's House from 2012, which will be used until 2022, this upcoming election year. There are 110 Michigan members who represent about 77,000 to 91,000 residents. Representatives are elected in even number years to 2-year terms, with the current term expiring December 31st, 2022. Each representative is limited to serving 3 terms. And so when it comes to the Michigan's Independent Citizen Redistricting Commission, November 2008, Prop 2, there was a constitutional amendment. And the amendment basically said voters, not politicians, will draw election district lines. And so now there is a new 13-member Independent Citizens Commission that will be involved in drawing these maps. In November 2018, 61% of Michigan voters decided to end gerrymandering by approving Proposition 2, an amendment to the Michigan Constitution that moved the power to draw election district lines from the legislature and put it in the hands of voters. The amendment created a body called the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission and set clear standards for how the lines should or should not be drawn. It also set standards to ensure a transparent, impartial, and fair process. When it comes to the Michigan Constitution, which was changed by Prop 2, there is a process to draw election maps that is transparent, again, impartial, and fair. The ICRC conducts all business in the open. It consists of 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 independents, and is required to draw lines that neither favor nor disfavor incumbents, any political party, or former politicians. The commission must be transparent. All meetings are on YouTube, current and past, and they are to be impartial, again, with 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 not affiliated with either party. The commission structure. First, I'll describe the nature of the commission, then who was eligible to serve and how they were selected. Again, it is a 13-member commission, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 independents. This illustrates how the commission is balanced according to political affiliation. Note there are 13 members, making a tie impossible. The commission eligibility qualifications, in order to qualify to be on the commission, they have to be registered and eligible to vote in the state of Michigan, and they must submit an application. The selection process, the goal was to have a commission that reflected the state's geographic and demographic makeup. Individual citizens were invited to apply using the Secretary of State website. In addition, the Secretary of State mailed applications to 10,000 randomly selected qualified voters who could apply using the redistrictingmichigan.org website. After June 1st, a random process weighted to reflect the geographic and demographic makeup of the state reduced the pool to 200. 60 self-described Democrats, 60 who self-identified as Republicans, and 80 who identified as independents who could be members of minority parties or no party. The top 2 leaders in the House and in the Senate could strike 5 participants, reducing the pool to 180. Then the final random selection produced our now 13 commissioners. And so now we're dealing with the drawing of the maps and the map approval. Commissioners will spend a lot of time holding hearings and consulting with experts who will use specialized software and data from many sources, including census data, to draw election district maps. The idea is to come up with election district maps that A, meet the criteria in the constitutional amendment, and B, are approved by a strictly prescribed vote of the commission. So first, let's go over how they will vote. First, before a vote by the ICRC, the map must have been tested using appropriate technology to meet the criteria of the Constitution, which I'll cover in a minute. Approval requires a majority vote, at least 7 of the 13, which must include at least 2 Democrats, at least 2 Republicans, and 2 independents or others. If these voting requirements cannot be met, each of the 13 commissioners would submit one final map for each state house and state senate and U.S. congressional district. The Secretary of State would choose from among these final maps. So again, the criteria and rules from the Constitution that the ICRC must use to create election maps. Well, the point is that there should be no more gerrymandering. Okay, now when it comes to the criteria, first, there are 7 criteria in this order of priority. First, they must be of equal population and comply with the U.S. Constitution, the Voting Rights Act, and the federal and other federal requirements. These trump state requirements. Second, they must be geographically contiguous. Islands are considered to be contiguous by land to the county of which they are a part. Third, districts shall reflect the state's diverse population and communities of interest. Communities of interest may include, but shall not be limited to, populations that share cultural or historical characteristics or economic interests. Communities of interest do not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or political candidates. Fourth, districts may not give a disproportionate advantage to any political party. No packing and no cracking. This shall be determined using accepted measures of partisan fairness. Fifth, districts shall not favor or disfavor an incumbent or candidate. Six, districts shall reflect consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. And seventh and last, districts shall be reasonably compact. And now we come to the part that all of us can be involved in. This is public participation. There must be public hearings both before and after the proposed maps are drawn. Hearings, there will be at least 10 public hearings in different geographical locations, and they are required to be held before drawing proposed maps. And there is a list on the Secretary of State's website that tells us where the meetings will be and the dates that they will be held. After that, there will be at least 5 public hearings. They are required after proposed maps are drawn. They actually are having 16 meetings instead of 15. Open meetings are required. Meetings must be accessible via television or online. When it comes to input, the public may also submit plans and underlying data for the commission's consideration, which are also a part of the public record. The commission must publish plans and allow at least 45 days for public comment. The commission, its staff, attorneys, and consultants may not discuss redistricting matters with the public outside of a public hearing, except if it occurs in writing or at a previous public forum. After a plan is adopted, the commission must publicize the plan and report explaining its decisions and materials used. This is essentially a list to correct the way that maps were drawn in 2011. We will use these new maps in the 2022 election. Some of the timing has changed due to pandemic caused delays in taking and producing the 2020 census information. Information about reapportionment of the Congress is delayed from late December 2020 to probably late April of 2021. And the final detailed numbers used to draw district lines are delayed from April 1st to probably late September. The Michigan Constitution requires the commission to complete the maps by November 1st, 2021. The MICRC has requested the Michigan Court to extend the final map approval date. Okay, and when it comes to the League of Women Voters of Michigan and the MICRC, we are monitoring its meetings to be sure law is followed. The League of Women Voters of Michigan has and will address them and has and will meet with staff. We will focus on communities of interest. It is a new concept and a new process, so education is important. The League of Women Voters of Michigan will focus on those not represented by an existing group. We'll collaborate with other groups such as VNP, MNA, and the NAACP. And the goal is to identify communities of interest, connect with them, support their participation in redistricting by testifying and providing maps to the ICRC at its public hearing. And so when it comes to communities of interest, what are they and why they matter? So now we're going to dig into the critical topic. Just what are these communities of interest and why are they so important right after federal law in priority to the drawing of election district lines in Michigan? COI'S, or communities of interest, are populations that share cultural characteristics, historical characteristics, and economic characteristics. This is what the Michigan Constitution tells us about what a community of interest is, and it's pretty bare bones. The MICRC has to define its own drawing of maps. It cannot look to other states. The new concept in Michigan and key to a new process. Michigan is in an enviable position, having moved the job of creating election district lines from a gerrymandered legislature to an independent commission of voters. But that whole process is brand new and largely not known or understood by the people. On top of that, the crucial 2020 census was delayed by politics and the pandemic, and public processes are happening virtually rather than in person. Michigan can't look at other states because each state has their own definition and priority for communities of interest. And this brand new concept and a brand new process is the third highest priority for the commission to use after following federal law and being geographically contiguous. They are a higher priority than consideration of county, city, and township boundaries and being reasonably compact. Examples of communities of interest: Hispanic and Latina populations, adjacent school districts with similar issues, agricultural groups such as dairy farmers or orchard growers, groups sharing watershed or lakeshore, Native American tribes, and neighborhood associations. To help you grasp the concept, these are some examples of what are communities of interest. When it comes to communities of interest, again, and why they matter, they are the building blocks for legislative and congressional districts. They create fairer and more effective representation, and we elect reps who pay attention to our or their interests. They matter because under Michigan's Constitution, they are meant to be the building blocks for legislative districts. And why is that? Finally, we get to the political theory. The fundamental purpose is to group members of a community of interest in a single district, rather than scattering them among two or more. Remember the concept in gerrymandering of cracking particular voters among rural election districts to weaken their ability to elect one of them. The same principle applies to grouping members of a community of interest together. In a different context, the context of electing and then influencing a lawmaker. And so the question becomes, how can I get involved? First, we have the right to attend public hearings in our area. And again, the list is available on the Michigan Secretary of State website. And just for the sake of knowing, there are 2 meetings that are scheduled for Detroit, one at Wayne County Community College on June 15th and one at TCF on 17th. In our area, there will also be meetings in June 10th in Dearborn. There will be a meeting in Warren and one in Pontiac when it comes to those within arm's reach. The public hearing, they're scheduled, and you can find them not only at the Secretary of State's website, but redistrictingmichigan.org. You can contact your local league for more information about communities of interest. One other thing I want to say, and then I'll open it up for questions. When it comes to gerrymandering and the one person, one vote theory that comes under equal protection under the law, there's an article that was put out by the Detroit News in November 2018, and they just gave some numbers. And what they said is that there was a 52 to 47% edge for one political party when it came to the number of votes cast, but the other party enjoys a 58-52 advantage in the House. In the state Senate, there were votes that were cast at a 50% to 48% clip by one party, yet the other party holds 22 seats to 16 held by the party that garnered the most votes. And so, again, it takes away the power of one vote, or one person, one vote, if politicians are allowed to draw maps, because at that point, again, they are selecting their voters instead of voters selecting their politicians. With that, I'm done. Are there any questions?
You can put your questions in the chat, and then we will read the questions off for Charles. So please feel free to ask questions. I know this information is new to most of you, and sometimes it can be a little voluminous. But we hope we've at least scratched the surface in trying to inform you about what's going on in our state and how important the Redistricting Commission is to our future voting rights in Michigan.
Let me say this, I teach often, and when I'm done, I always say the same thing. I know I didn't do so well that there are no questions. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, but we do need to understand that this is very important and something that in my estimation, did not get the attention that it needed, because I think that we already failed when it comes to representation in the census. And I do not believe, personally, it's my personal belief, that the numbers that are coming out are going to be a true representation of the actual number of citizens in Michigan. But now that the numbers have been collected, it is what it is for 10 years.
Okay, I have a question here, Charles. I heard you mention a November deadline. Was this for the new district lines to be completed?
That is where it stands right now, but it is currently a moving target. As I said, the commission has gone to the court and asked them to extend the amount of time that they have to get these maps drawn, and it is a legitimate request because nobody has the actual census numbers yet. They really can't, and again, the numbers of congressional seats and the drawing of the maps, everything is contingent and dependent on the census data.
Okay. Another question, how many people should serve on the communities that care committee? I guess the communities of interest committee?
Okay, I just had a meeting just before this. Well, and it was with the league person that's heading up the communities of interest effort. And we're about to launch out and engage with some of these communities of interest that have been identified. But let me say this, a community of interest can be one person. Now, one person can come up and represent a community. But if you want what you say to carry weight, it should be representative of a block. And so with the communities of interest effort, what our goal is going to be is using communities of interest that have been identified and then linking them up with other communities of interest who have similar interests and that are in a contiguous area. And again, you carry more power and weight, more heft, if you go in with 700,000 in a community of interest as opposed to one. And let me also say, one person can represent more than one community of interest. You can go in and represent the community of interest where you work. You can represent the community of interest where you live. You can represent the community of interest or you play basketball. You're not limited to how many communities of interest you engage with or you become a partner with. Did that answer the question?
Lisa, does that answer the question? Okay. Are there any other questions? Since there are not very many, if you have a question, you can also unmute since we don't have very many questions in chat. And I know chat can be sometimes difficult to negotiate.
I see Cheryl's question, and it's
okay,
what should
yeah.
someone do if they think of a community of interest. You can feed that information up through the league. You can send it to me. Anquinette Sarfo is heading up the effort for communities of interest, and so I'm sure that you have her contact information. And I do want to say one other thing, and this is to Cheryl, because I got a chance to see another session where she had a question about Detroit and it becoming a community of interest in and of itself, because it probably has the 711,000 citizens to represent that district. But what we have to be careful about is, again, that becomes an issue of packing a district. And so you might lose out on the amount of representation that you have on a US congressional level. But again, you would be able to certainly lock yourself into the representation that you would like on a state level. And I hope that that made sense to somebody.
Okay. Will this presentation be available online? You should check our website in about a week or so for a link to this presentation. This presentation is being recorded. Where will the committee meeting information be shared so community members may attend?
Let me say that honestly, I'm a little distressed by the way it has been rolled out thus far, because again, the information is available but not known. It's not known. I mean, if it were not for these sessions, I wouldn't have known that there were meetings that were going to take place, to be quite frank and honest. And so, you know, part of our job is getting the information out there and letting people know, you know, first of all, these maps are about to be redrawn. Secondly, that you have a right to a voice. And thirdly, where do I go, that's a question I said, to get the appropriate information? Michigan Secretary of State website has a list of the meetings, and there was another one that I just called off, and I'm trying to find my notes where you can, I think it was on michiganredistricting.org, but I'm trying to find it to be absolutely sure. I don't want you to be like me where you're running around looking for information and have the president tell you, you have a script, stop looking. So let me see. I'm sorry, I'll keep looking and I'll get that information and I'll post it in the chat, but for sure, absolutely, you can find the information on the Secretary of State website on when and where these meetings take place. And we need to get people in to these meetings, and we need to help them get maps drawn, which is what we are about to do with the Communities of Interest Committee with the League of Women Voters.
Deborah has indicated you can also go to lwvmi.org. That's the League of Women Voters State of Michigan website, League of Women Voters Michigan.org, and they'll have a link to information about the meetings, the community meetings.
Okay, and the site that I was looking for, and I'm going to type it in here if I can do it correctly, is redistrictingmichigan.org, and it might very well be a site that everybody might want to, you know, just take a look at, because we need to know everything that's going on with these commissions. I have had a chance to view some of the initial meetings, and it gets pretty hot. And we need to make sure that even in the initial meetings, we're being represented. The initial meetings were just about where the hearings would be held. And one person was tasked with coming up with a list. He came up with his list, and I'm sure by the time he got it fully out of his mouth, he felt like he was in the lion's den because he got lambasted. And it was to suggest that he was favoring certain areas in Michigan and disregarding others. And so, these things are taking place. We need to be aware. When it comes to the AKAs, I salute you all and applaud you because you're taking the time to get this information, and you will be part of the voice that helps push this information out so that everybody can have proper representation when these maps are going to be drawn, because this is it for 10 years. It will be what it is. It will be what it is.
Let's see, I have another question. Legal Women Voters Detroit. Oh, this is Cheryl's giving you information on our future events in conjunction with the Detroit Public Library. And here's a link from Ms. Strickland indicating Michigan, www.michigan.gov/MICRC.
Yes, again, and this is all good because it just shows that there are many avenues out there to put our hands on this information, but it's no good if you don't know it's there. We have to get the word out that these things are happening. They're happening now. And just like we only get one bite at the apple at the census for 10 years, we only get one bite at the apple for these maps. And we have to make our voices heard. We don't want to continue to allow it to be that the minority dictates to the majority. I hope I didn't go too far, Madam President.
No, an excellent presentation. Thank you very much, Charles. And I wish to, at this time, we're going to close the event. And I'm going to have Ms. Brown. I see Joanne has put out a chat saying the next meeting for the RCIE is Thursday, April 8th. No, that's today. Okay. I'm going to have Ms. Dolores Brown give some closing remarks from the sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Ms. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dolores A. Brown, the Connection Committee Chairman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Tau Alpha Omega Chapter. We were happy to collaborate with the League of Women Voters this evening on Redistricting Forum. We believe in key community issues and want to be a part of educating and highlighting these issues. I hope all in attendance were able to learn how redistricting is changing this in the state of Michigan and how to stay engaged. We appreciate your attendance and want to thank our guest speaker, Charles Thomas Jr., for bringing such an informative presentation. And I do want to say, I do want to be involved in this. So Charles, I'm going to have to get with you and try to understand it a little bit better. I think that is one of the reasons that you didn't have a lot of questions, because I think it's just so new to a lot of us. And as you said, we weren't involved in the past. And so other people were doing this for us. And so now we need to be more involved. And so I do plan to find out more about it in the future. And I hope other people on this Zoom call also do that. Thank you again for being in attendance, everyone.
Okay, and I wish to thank everyone for participating in this event. I'm so gratified to see that there's so many people who are interested in our community and willing to participate in the political process. As one of our members said before, democracy is not a spectator sport. So we try to work with people to get them involved. And I'm so happy that you have decided to participate in this event. And I wish to thank the AKA Sorority for partnering with us again. They have been a wonderful partner. We've partnered with them for many years and look forward to do so in the future. Please check out our website for future events and their website also for our future joint events, and become a member of the League. We would love to have you. As indicated, everyone is welcome. And as go out there, be safe. We're still in a pandemic, so be careful. And thank you.
Thank you all again.